Welcome back. You're still tuned into Midcap Masala right here on ET Now. And as promised, let's put the spotlight on India's real estate sector. And we have one company from the sector who is now joining us, Purvankara. That's the company in focus this morning. And Mr. Ashish Puravankara, Managing Director at Purvankara, is now joining us. Sir, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. And first up, let's talk about your Mumbai presence. And there are several reports which suggest that company is planning to launch several projects in the Mumbai and the Mumbai metropolitan region. We'll talk about your plans to expand into other regions as well. But for now, if you can clear the air for us and share some more details on the plans and new launches that are lined up in the Mumbai metropolitan region.
Thank you for having me. I think it's most important to note, I think, the way the good brands are doing and in general how real estate is doing. I think if you look at our 9 months data, we've done extremely well on most parameters in terms of sales, in terms of collections. So now going forward, I think we're extremely confident, particularly with our expansion into Mumbai. We have 6 exciting launches across the key micro markets, which is essentially Lokhandwala, which is Pali Hill, which is Beach Candy, Malabar Hill, Chembur, and Thane. So these are the launches that we expect over the next 3 to 6 months. They're all in advanced stages of approvals. In fact, final stages of approvals, most of them, all but 4. Yes, and we continue to do aggressive BD both in the Bombay and the Pune markets.
All right, that's great to know. Ashish, hi, morning. This is Shrishti also joining in. So,
Good morning.
Ashish, with respect to the Indian markets, yes, you have talked about some of the new exciting launches that are coming up. We'll try to get more details on that. But before that, I just wanted to touch with respect to what's been happening in Middle East, because you must be knowing that, yes, of course, a whole host of these real estate counters, companies, the sector is definitely booming. What as per Purvankara sees the whole situation, and do you have any exposure to that market, if you can give us some sense?
No, we do not have any exposure to the Middle East market right now. Of course, there are NRIs across the world who are customers of Purvankara. I strongly believe that this will be a temporary phase. I think as humans, we have now post-COVID. I think we can overcome any situation. So it'll be short-lived. I think there will be a faster resolution than people imagine, and things should come back to normal.
Okay, and there are several reports that suggest that you're eyeing an entry into the Gurugram market as well. Can you share some more details on this?
Sure. So as an organization, obviously, this is our 50 years in operations. We have completed over 53 million square foot and delivered, not faltered on a single project, established ourselves strong in the southern markets, made our re-entry back into Mumbai about 5-7 years ago, and have established ourselves well here. So I think the next leg of growth that we're looking, because the brand is extremely strong across the markets that we've entered. So the next leg of growth, I think logical expansion would be NCR. Both we're looking at Gurgaon as well as Noida and Greater Noida. So currently just at early stages in terms of evaluating a couple of proposals.
All right, that's interesting to see, and we look forward to more details on the same. But Ashish, you also seem to be expanding your geographies into the commercial space as well. What I really get to see is that, yes, of course, IKEA is one of the projects that you have already done it, but in the commercial space, how do you envisage the opportunities, and what are your plans there?
So first, I think it's important to note how well the commercial has been doing. If you look at the last 9 months data in terms of supply, the uptake in commercial spaces is almost 20% more than the supply. So in terms of the new supply, so it continues to be extremely strong. We as an organization obviously have been extremely a very strong brand in residential. That said, we have done about 4 million square foot of commercial in the past, which we had exited. Now, as a strategy, we want to add to that commercial portfolio, but extremely choosy in terms of the locations that we onboard. So if you look at our current commercial portfolio, we have almost 2.2 million square foot of deliveries that will happen around April, where these commercial office spaces in Bangalore city will be ready. In addition to that, we have an additional portfolio of close to about 2.5 million square foot which we will start construction. Again, very sort of growth corridors of Bangalore. So this is North Bangalore, where we'll be adding the new commercial projects as well. So quite confident, and we would like to hold this asset from an annuity income point of view.
Purvankara, last time when we spoke to you after your third quarter results, you did tell us that you have launches worth about 6,000 crores that are lined up in the fourth quarter. What has been the progress on that front, and are you on track to achieve that guidance?
Yes, we are on track to achieve that guidance. We have, in fact, last weekend, the weekend before, we did our first launch, which was in Lokhandwala, which has done extremely well. And then we're going to see a couple more launches across Bombay market as well as Bangalore, and also maybe one in Cochin. So we are well on track for these launches for the balance part of this quarter.
All right, but Ashish, that brings me to my next question. What will be your guidance, the pre-sales and collection guidance for quarter four and the upcoming financial year? Any numbers you can share with us?
So in terms of, I think for the 9-month period, we've achieved about 4.25 million square foot of sales, close to about 3,850 crores. Important to note that most of the sales has come from our ongoing sustenance projects, which continue to sell as per our annual operating plan. With the new launches that we have planned, that will add a significant number, I think, to this quarter. We don't normally give guidance, but I think it should be a good year and we should surpass the target that we had set for ourselves.
FY27, you did not answer that question. In 9 months, FY26, you have already registered sales of about what, 3,900 crores. Directionally, if you can tell us, I understand you can't give us an exact guidance, but in percentage terms, what kind of pre-sales could we see in FY27, or say at least in the first half of FY27?
A percentage would make the math fairly simple, but let me put it the other way around. Basically, in terms of launches, if I include this quarter as well, we have a launch pipeline of almost 15 million square foot over the next 9 months. Important to note, all these projects are already on board in advanced stages of approvals. In terms of value, this will be close to about 18,000 crores. If you look at our past track record, over the last 3-4 years, we've changed our selling strategy where we are almost selling 70 to 80% within the first 2 quarters of launch of the phases that we open up. So that will be a significant jump in terms of our annual numbers that we have been doing in the past. A significant jump is all I can say.
But lastly, Ashish, just wanted to touch upon the pricing aspect as well, because post-COVID, there were a couple of years where residential projects had their run up, especially with respect to the prices. But that is seen to be getting a bit stagnant in the past couple of years. If you can give us some sense, what's the outlook from now for the next 2 years? Where do you see the prices headed, and which markets can actually do better versus the rest?
So I think in terms of pricing, it is, it's divided city-wise and within the city also micro market. So if you look at the south, for example, Bangalore has seen almost a 12 to 15% increase. I think the Mumbai market, the data that's published is somewhere close to 7 to 10%. Again, within Mumbai, I think it's important to note each micro market is seeing a different percentage jump. So basically, micro markets that are seeing some sort of infrastructure development, better connectivity, metro connectivity, like in Bombay, the coastal road connectivity, we are going to continue to see this kind of 7 and 10% jump. The rest of the markets where you don't see much will be relatively lower, maybe somewhere between the 4 to 5%. But I still believe that a well-designed product, a good brand, a good location, still, I think there is scope for growth.
Okay, so there is scope for growth as far as pricing is concerned. But Mr. Purvankara, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. With that,
Thank
it's
you
a
for
wrap
having
on
me.
this edition of the show. Thanks so much for tuning in, but don't go anywhere. Buy now, sell now will come up next.